The Hidden Guardian. The Vargan Empire had expanded across 17 star systems in just 2 decades. Their ships, massive, crystal-embedded vessels that bent gravity to their will, crushed all opposition with ruthless efficiency. When they discovered Earth 5 years ago, their high command expected another swift conquest. That was their first mistake. Admiral Yuriko Tanaka watched from the bridge of the UES Defender as 3 Vargan dreadnoughts materialized at the edge of Mars' orbit. Her small flotilla of 6 escort cruisers looked pathetically outmatched against the crystalline behemoths. "All ships, defensive formation Delta," she ordered, her voice betraying no fear despite the overwhelming odds. "Prepare for emergency jump on my mark." The communications officer turned to her. "Admiral, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. They want our surrender." Tanaka smiled thinly. "Send them our standard response." On screens across both fleets, Earth's reply appeared in the Vargan language. "Humanity respectfully declines. We will defend our home." The Vargan ships launched their attack, violet energy lances stabbing across space toward the human vessels. The Earth ships returned fire, their conventional railguns and fusion torpedoes barely scratching the alien shields. After a brief exchange, Tanaka gave the expected order. "All ships, emergency jump. Fall back to Earth defense perimeter." As the human fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving Mars undefended, jubilant cheers erupted across the Vargan flagship. Supreme Commander Kyack's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "Predictable," he rumbled to his bridge officers. 5 years of the same tactics. Always retreating, always falling back. These humans have no spine. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexis, approached with a tactical display. "At this rate, we will reach Earth within 2 standard cycles. Their final defensive line is thin, and our intelligence confirms they have no significant hidden forces." Kyack's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of Vargan amusement. "Their planet will make an excellent mining colony. Have the processing ships prepared." Deep within Saturn's rings, nestled inside the largest fragment of the destroyed moon Rhea, Commander Elena Reyes walked through the cavernous hangar bay of humanity's best-kept secret. The TSS Vengeance, a supercarrier stretching nearly 6 kilometers from bow to stern, had been under construction for the entire 5-year war. While Earth sent outdated ships and inexperienced crews to fight holding actions against the Vargan advance, humanity's best engineers, pilots, and soldiers had been quietly assigned to this single massive project. "Status report," Reyes demanded as she entered the bridge. At 43, her face bore the lines of someone who had carried an impossible burden. Her dark hair was streaked with premature gray, and her brown eyes held a steely determination. Lieutenant Commander Jackson Chen, her XO, handed her a tablet. "All systems green, Commander. Quantum shield generators are online and stable. Gravitational masking is functioning perfectly. Even if the Vargans flew through these rings, they wouldn't detect us." Reyes nodded, scanning the readouts. "And the Phantom squadrons. All 300 fighters at combat readiness. Pilots have completed their final simulations." Chen hesitated. "They're restless, Commander. 5 years of training in secret while watching our people die in delaying actions." "I know," Reyes said quietly. "But we couldn't reveal ourselves until we were absolutely ready. The Vargans would have redirected their entire fleet to destroy us if they'd known what we were building." She moved to the central holographic display, where a real-time simulation showed the current disposition of Earth's defensive fleet, small and fragmented, seemingly on the verge of collapse. Nearby, red icons represented the advancing Vargan armada, now pushing past Mars toward Earth. "We've studied every engagement," Reyes said, addressing the bridge crew. "We've analyzed every piece of Vargan technology we could salvage from destroyed ships. We've learned their tactics, their weaknesses, their blind spots, all while letting them believe humanity is technologically inferior and strategically incompetent." She straightened her midnight blue uniform with gold trim, the new colors of Earth's true space force. different from the decoy gray worn by the public fleet. Their overconfidence will be their undoing. A young communications officer approached. "Commander, encrypted transmission from Earth Defense Command." The main screen flickered, revealing Admiral Tanaka's face. Despite having just retreated from another battle, she looked calm. "Commander Reyes, Operation Thunderclap is authorized. The Vargans have committed their reserve fleets to the final push against Earth. Defensive line Omega will fail in approximately 38 hours, as planned." Reyes felt her heart rate quicken. "Understood, Admiral. Vengeance is ready." Tanaka's expression softened momentarily. "Elena, make it count. For everyone we've lost buying you time. We will, Yuriko, I promise." When the transmission ended, Reyes turned to her crew. "Sound general quarters. Begin power-up sequence for main drives. Launch preparation teams to their stations." Alarms blared throughout the massive vessel as 15,000 crew members moved to battle stations. In the fighter bays, pilots ran to their sleek, black Phantom interceptors, craft incorporating reverse-engineered Vargan gravity technology combined with human ingenuity. Commander Reyes took her place in the command chair as the Supercarrier's enormous power plant, a controlled artificial singularity, spun up to full capacity. "Deactivate gravitational masking," she ordered. "Set course for Earth. We'll emerge directly behind the Vargan fleet." "What about stealth approach, Commander?" asked Tactical Officer Lai. Reyes shook her head. "No, I want them to see us coming. I want them to have just enough time to realize what they're facing before we hit them." The massive ship shuddered as it broke free from its hiding place within Saturn's rings. Ice and rock fragments scattered around it as the Vengeance revealed itself to the void for the first time. Its hull was matte black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, making the vessel appear like a moving hole in space. Only the blue glow of its quantum drive emitters at the stern betrayed its presence. Across the solar system, at the edge of Earth's gravity well, the final battle had begun. The remaining human defense fleet, 40 ships against over 200 Vargan vessels, fought desperately, selling their lives dearly to protect their homeworld. Supreme Commander Jack watched from his flagship, the Crystal Dominion, as human ships were systematically destroyed. "Begin landing operations," he ordered. "I want resource extraction teams on the surface within." "Supreme Commander," his sensor officer interrupted, voice high with alarm. "Massive energy signature detected. Something is approaching from Saturn." "Show me," Kazak demanded. The tactical display shifted, showing a vessel of impossible size moving at incredible speed toward their position. Around him, the bridge crew froze in shock. "Impossible," Vex whispered. "Our intelligence indicated no such vessel existed." "All ships," Kazak bellowed. "Target that." Before he could finish, every communication channel erupted with a message broadcasting in perfect Vargan language. "This is Commander Elena Reyes of the Terran Supercarrier Vengeance. You have been deceived. Earth's true fleet now enters the battle. Your war ends today." Turning the tide. Supreme Commander Jak's compound eyes widened as the tactical display updated with new information. The human vessel, this Vengeance, was nearly 3 times larger than his flagship, and it wasn't approaching alone. Surrounding it were swarms of fighter craft unlike any he had encountered in the 5-year war against Earth. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered, his voice cracking with uncharacteristic alarm. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human supercarrier." Across the Vargan fleet, crystalline energy weapons powered up, their violet beams converging on the approaching human vessel. For 5 years, such attacks had shredded Earth's defensive ships with ease. But when the beams struck the Vengeance, they encountered something new, a shimmering blue-white barrier that absorbed and dissipated the energy without visible strain. On the Vengeance's bridge, Commander Reyes remained standing, watching calmly as the enemy's most powerful weapons proved ineffective. "Quantum shields holding at 96%, reported Lieutenant Navarro at the Defensive Systems Station. "The Vargan weapons are exactly as predicted, powerful, but inefficient. Reyes nodded. Tactical, target their command ship's propulsion systems. Precision strikes only. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Officer Lai's fingers danced across his console. Targeting solution acquired. Graviton lance charged and ready. Fire. From the Vengeance's forward emitter array, a concentrated beam of distorted spacetime, invisible except where it bent light around it, lanced out toward the Crystal Dominion. When it struck, there was no explosion, no dramatic impact. Instead, the massive Vargan flagship simply stopped moving, its crystalline propulsion structures darkening as the gravitational fields that powered them collapsed. Direct hit, Lai announced. Their main drives are offline. Excellent, Reyes said. Commander Chen, launch all Phantom squadrons. Priority targets are their heavy cruisers and weapons platforms. Launch bay doors opened along the Vengeance's hull, and 300 black fighter craft streamed out in perfect formation. Unlike conventional spacecraft, these fighters moved with impossible agility, their gravity manipulation drives allowing them to change direction instantly without inertial effects on their pilots. Squadron leader Maya Patel led the first attack wing toward a cluster of Vargan cruisers. Phoenix Squadron, weapons free. Target their sensor arrays and weapons first. The human fighters darted between enemy vessels, firing concentrated pulses that disabled rather than destroyed. It was a strategy the Vargans had never encountered, an enemy trying to neutralize rather than annihilate. On the Crystal Dominion's bridge, chaos reigned. Supreme Commander Chak watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically crippled. Not destroyed, but rendered combat ineffective with surgical precision. How? He demanded of his tactical officers. How did we not know of this vessel? How did they develop technology that surpasses our own? Sub-Commander Vex studied the sensor readings with growing dread. The humans, they've been analyzing our technology. Every ship we destroyed, every encounter, they were learning from us, while feeding us false information about their capabilities. Kizak realized, his mandibles clicking in agitation. Every retreat was planned, every loss calculated. Across the battlefield, Admiral Tanaka's remaining ships had regrouped and joined the attack, focusing on the now vulnerable Vargan vessels. The tide of battle had shifted so dramatically that some Vargan captains began powering up their emergency jump drives to retreat. On the Vengeance, Commander Reyes was reviewing the tactical situation when her sensor officer called out. Commander, detecting massive energy buildup from the disabled Vargan flagship. They're channeling all remaining power to their main crystal array. Reyes immediately recognized the threat. They're preparing a gravity collapse. Everyone brace. The Crystal Dominion's central spire began to glow with intense purple energy. It was the Vargan's weapon of last resort, a gravitational singularity that could tear apart anything within a 1,000-kilometer radius. Target that spire, Reyes ordered. All available power to forward batteries. The Vengeance's main weapons array charged quickly, but the Vargan weapon was already reaching critical mass. In that moment, Reyes made a decision that would be studied in military academies for generations. Divert all shield power to the graviton manipulator. We're going to contain their weapon with our own gravity field. The risky maneuver left the Supercarrier momentarily vulnerable, but Chen didn't question the order. Shields dropping, diverting to graviton systems. As the Vargan weapon discharged, the Vengeance projected a precisely calculated gravitational field that enveloped the destructive energies, containing them in a swirling vortex between the two ships. For tense seconds, it seemed the human vessel might be torn apart by the strain, its hull groaning under forces it was never designed to withstand. Field stability at 23%, Chen reported, his voice tight. Structural integrity compromised on decks 17 through 24. Reyes gripped her command chair. Hold it together. Just a few more seconds. The contained energy sphere between the ships pulsed once, twice, then collapsed in on itself, the destructive potential neutralized by the Vengeance's gravitational countermeasures. A cheer erupted across the bridge as status displays returned to safer levels. Damage report, Rais called out. Multiple hull breaches, emergency containment fields holding, Chen replied. Engineering reports the quantum core is stable but strained. We'll need repairs, but we're still combat capable. Rais nodded, then turned to communications. Open a channel to the Vargan flagship. On the view screen, Supreme Commander Chak appeared, his normally imposing presence diminished by defeat. The background of his bridge showed damaged systems and injured crew. Supreme Commander, Rais addressed him calmly. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapon has failed. I offer you a choice, unconditional surrender, or we will be forced to destroy what remains of your command. Kazak's mandibles twitched with suppressed rage. You deceived us. We defended ourselves, Rais corrected, against an empire that attacks without provocation and destroys civilizations for resources. Did you really believe humans would simply wait to be conquered? After a long pause, Kazak lowered his head. I surrender my fleet. 3 days later, Commander Rais stood in the Vengeance's observation deck, watching as Earth grew larger in the viewports. The Supercarrier led a procession of captured Vargan vessels toward humanity's homeworld, a victory parade unlike anything in human history. Admiral Tanaka joined her, looking out at the stars. The Vargan High Council has requested peace negotiations. Their entire military strategy was based on our perceived weakness. Now that they know the truth, they're reassessing their expansion plans. Rais finished with a slight smile. The President wants to give you the Global Merit Star, Tanaka said. There will be parades, speeches. Rais shook her head. The real heroes are the crews of the decoy fleet, the ones who fought and died knowing they were outmatched, but did it anyway to buy us time. She turned to face her old friend. 5 years of letting the enemy think they were winning. That was the hardest battle of all. And now, Rais looked back toward Earth, her expression resolute. Now we build. The vengeance was just the beginning. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity won't be conquered or colonized. Peace through strength, Tanaka asked. Peace through respect, Rais corrected. The Vargans respected only power, so we showed them ours. Perhaps other species will be wiser. As the Vengeance approached Earth orbit, millions of people looked up to see their hidden guardian finally revealed, the ship that had changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever, transforming them from apparent victims to a force that even the mighty Vargan Empire now approached with caution. It was a new era for humanity among the stars.